Hello and welcome to episode 4. Start small to end big. Let's build a healthier, more balanced life by moving 1% closer to feeling healthier, by moving 1% closer to feeling more in balance. What does balance mean in your health? What does balance mean in your life? And it's different for all of us. So go back and check episode 2 out and you can answer that question for yourself. I am doing a series of episodes on taking the kind of action that gets results. Because if you remember from episode 1, there are 3 steps to take to get results. Step 1, take the right kind of action over time. Step 2, check your thoughts over time. Step 3, get accountability and support over time. So for the next several episodes, I'm talking about taking the kind of action that gets results. And in last week's episode, we talked about setting specific instructions when you're taking action. This week, we'll talk about step 2, start small. Start small to end big. Now, starting small was not my philosophy. It was quite the opposite. In my mind, if I wanted a result or a new habit, I needed to go all in, start doing the action a lot, start living my end result now. I had no time or value around the thinking that starting small was the best way. I could and would do whatever it took, pushing myself to do the thing every day, or at least 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Sometimes I made it 2 weeks or a month doing the thing, starting big, but it rarely lasted. Or if I did manage to keep doing the thing that frequently, other areas of my life and routine just fell apart. Like, I can't focus on anything else because I have to keep doing my thing. And over time, I became way out of balance and in general just fizzled out, leaving the thought in my mind that I can never stick to this never lasts, it's too hard, until the next time when I thought, okay, I've got it this time. I've got the right, quote, workout. I've got the right mantra. I've got the right journal or calendar. I've got the right app that can help me just go all in. Nope, not going to happen. Does any of this sound like you getting all geared up and going way in trying to do the thing that you want to do quickly? Why doesn't this usually work? Now, let me give you a little disclaimer. Sometimes taking action in this way can work if other things are in place, and more on that in future episodes. But we're not talking about extremes here on this podcast. I'm not saying that taking this kind of action never works or that taking a particular kind of action always works. But why is it sometimes more difficult to form a habit this way when we try to just go all in and get that end result right away? Our brain doesn't like it when we try to go too far, too fast. It thinks we are in danger and we sabotage. More on sabotage in future episodes. Now, we need habits, right? We need actions and thoughts that are on autopilot. We don't have to use so much brain power that way. We have so many things that come at us in a day, right? That we need some automatic actions. Trying to think or act too far from our norm for too long wears us out and we sabotage. Now, it's important to remember, we're all individuals. So what your norm is may be different than what my norm is. So I want you to think about your own baseline, not your neighbors, not your coworkers, not mine, but coming from your norm and not trying to go too far. I do this all the time with my family, though. I don't really think about their norm in terms of their norm on what eating, quote, healthy is, their norm on what working out is. And many times I'm trying to just drag, and yes, I mean drag, them along with me. Like, okay, guys, I've decided that we're going to not eat processed food 3 days a week or whatever. My norm on not eating processed food, my baseline, my starting point might be different than theirs. So if they're used to eating pizza 7 days a week and I'm saying, oh, now we're not going to do that at all, then they're going to sabotage. So remember, we're talking about your norm, your starting point. So even when the thing that we want to do is good for us, like eating, quote, healthier, exercising more, meditating more, whatever it is, even when that thing we're trying to do is good for us, or will have those positive effects, right? It's still difficult to try to go all the way in and go big. So let me give you some examples from my life and from my clients. So let's say that I want to exercise 3 to 4 times a week. That is my end goal. Right now, my habit or my default is not exercising at all on a regular basis, especially maybe if I'm coming off the holidays. So as I'm recording this right now, we are coming off the holidays. And one of the many reasons that our New Year's resolutions usually don't last, and this is true for me, was that I was trying to go so far off from my norm. I was even trying to go so far off from what my norm was maybe back in October. So let's say it's January and I'm gearing up I'm going to start working out 4 times a week. Well, if I go back to even what my norm routine was in October, if I was only doing a couple times a week or I wasn't that consistent, now that I've gone through November and December and likely have gone way the other way, right? Anybody else? So whatever I was doing pre-holiday season, whether it was sporadically working out or sporadically eating healthier or sporadically meditating, it's likely in the past that during that November and December, I've inched a little bit further away from even that norm to full-blown, I haven't been doing anything but eating candy canes and sugar. Now, there's no judgment on that. So don't go down that rabbit hole of mind drama. I'm just simply stating many times we've gone way the other way, right? So if I'm gearing up in January and the past couple of months, I've been so much extreme the other way that I haven't exercised at all, then trying to suddenly do it 3 to 4 times a week is really going to be difficult. And we all fall prey to that, right? We've got the commercials and everything we're watching all through November and December that are promoting all the family time, baked goods, chocolate, whatever. And then all of a sudden January hits and we're being bombarded with, join the gym, do this. We're set up for failure because the advertising is contributing to our extremes. So back to my desire or my goal to exercise, to feel a little healthier. And again, the information is out there, right? We don't usually need to convince our brains that what we desire is good for us. So 3 to 4 times a week is maybe that expectation. That's my goal. I want to end up exercising consistently 3 to 4 times a week. But my current habit is that I'm not consistently exercising at all. Maybe I do 1 or 2 days here and there. If that's the case, then I need to just start one step from where I am right now. So if that means I haven't really been doing anything at all, that means that I need to think about exercising 1 maybe 2 times in the next 7 days. Then when I do that, I'll set a goal for another 1 to 2 times in the next 7 days. And I will commit to that 1 time as the start. And then over time, I will work up to the 3 to 4 times. Remember, if we want to get results, we need to take action over time, check our thoughts over time, and have accountability and support over time. So if my norm right now is that I'm not doing any consistent exercise at all, then I need to focus on doing it 1, maybe 2 times a week. Now, I know what you're thinking, and years ago I would have been thinking the same thing. That's not going to do any good. Now, your thinking brain will not like this, but your critter brain will. What? What is she talking about? Thinking brain, critter brain. That thinking brain that we have, and these aren't the technical terms, but that part of our brain loves all of these new ideas, right? And all of these new habits. Oh, won't this be great? I'm going to do this. I'm going to exercise. I'm getting all this together. But our critter brain, that more basic, brainstem is thinking, whoa, this is too much. This does not feel safe. And the first time I heard people in my training program talking about thinking brain and critter brain, trust me, the speech language pathologist in me that used to work with people who suffered from strokes and traumatic brain injury and who had taken anatomy and physiology classes was like, okay, this is dumb. What are these brains? Those are just easier to understand terms. So I'm not using the technical terms here. But trust me, or trust others, right? Because I'm not just making this up. Remember, I'm not the expert, but I am the gatherer of information for you, and I am the gatherer of information that I have used over time and that I've witnessed my clients using. Now, we can't always believe everything that we read or hear from the quote experts either, because things change, right? Science changes. What the experts and the doctors were telling us was a healthy way of eating 10 years ago has changed. So things evolve. So we don't focus too much on any, one theory or thought or current state of information, but get curious as to what works for you. I can now get curious as to what will work for me in the context of some of this expert information. But we digress a little bit, right? We're talking about starting small so that it helps your brain feel safe. Okay. Now, sometimes you might want to start bigger and someone says, no, I had a time period where just a few months ago, I was working out 3 to 4 times a week. And I think my quote, starting small, is I'm going to do it 2 times a week and work up. And maybe I do it 2 times a week for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I add a 3rd time. Whereas someone else's baseline or feeling as we're talking about that, as I'm coaching them, might be, okay, yes, let's just start out with the 1. So I'm not here to limit my clients, but we need to check the status of our actions and our feelings about our actions every 7 days to see how we're doing and how we're feeling. But we start small, but we don't stay small. That was always the fear, right? That I think in the story I was telling myself, well, if I start with just 1 to 2 times, I'm never going to get to the 3 to 4 times. I need to start doing it the way I want it to end up right now so I can end up that way, which really does not make it easy or pleasurable. Habits form in our brain around pleasure, and we'll talk about that in future episodes. But let's keep focused on starting small. And like I said, maybe you jump up to 3 times a week after 3 weeks because it doesn't take you that long to get back to your norm. That's fine. But if we're starting something brand new and we're not used to doing it at all, start small. Now, as we move in and out of habits and actions, we might be able to get back to that more quickly, as I mentioned. I noticed this with my clients who've coached with me for several programs, even for several years at this point. Their starting small looks different and doesn't last as long because of the work that they've done with their actions and their mindsets before. Especially when it comes to maybe eating healthier foods, it's easier to shift back into that. In a previous episode, I gave the example of my sleep in terms of being specific and starting small, where yes, at one point my norm was that I was going to bed probably 5 nights a week consistently at 9 o'clock. And over the past couple of months, I had stopped doing that. So I'm going to go back, take what my current level is, and then just go one step above that. Start small. So get myself committed to going to bed 1 or 2 nights a week at 9 o'clock and then build up. That keeps my brain happy. We want to start small and give our body and our brain time to ease into this new thing. So we want to break down our goals. What is that smallest step that I can take to get there? So doing that workout example, I haven't been working out at all. I've been sitting on my couch watching my favorite show. I want to start developing a habit of working out. Then you need to start small. And let me make a suggestion that your thinking brain is probably going to resist. Sometimes that smallest step is actually taking time to research the type of exercise you want. This is not being lazy and putting off getting started. So rather than jumping in, you take some time to think about what exercise do I like instead of just going right out to, okay, whatever, I'm just going to start doing something 4 times a week. I'm going to go to that gym. I'm going to do this YouTube video. And that's okay. Maybe that feels pleasurable and will work. But even breaking it down further, let me find what I even like. Let me see the exercise options that are out there and really spend some time thinking about what I will enjoy. Because as we're going to talk about in a few future episodes, step 4 on developing habits and taking the right kind of action is making our goals work for us, making them pleasurable. Our brain wants to repeat what's pleasurable, and habits form quicker when we experience that pleasure. So taking some time to figure out, okay, I'm not just going to do any exercise or what my neighbor does or what the experts say I should do. I'm going to start with something that's pleasurable for me. And then once I develop that habit, that feeling, that mindset that I am the person that exercises regularly, then maybe I can insert a different type of exercise into my habit and into my routine. So again, going back to the exercise example, maybe the small start for you could be buying the walking shoes that week. Like instead of, oh, I have to get walking shoes and I have to, just start, I have to walk 4 times this week. Oh my gosh, I don't have the shoes. What am I going to wear? I think it's going to rain tomorrow. And before you know it, you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't get started. Start small. Maybe your smallest step to that habit, that goal of walking 3 to 4 times a week is just going into your closet and seeing the state of your shoes or your workout clothes. And maybe then you schedule in your action for that week is to go buy some new walking shoes. Don't go too far from your baseline at first. Now, as I mentioned, if you were walking 3 to 4 times a week regularly, and it's just been recently that you've fallen off, then you might say, okay, next week I'm going to walk twice. Maybe you already have the shoes, you already know the route you like to take, and you don't have to start quite that small. We're looking at where we are now and what that next tiny step is going to be. And why do we do this? We want to experience success with our action steps, no matter what they are. Our brain doesn't know if we took a big action or a small action. It just knows if we took action. And we want that action to be on repeat. We want that action to feel good in our brains. We want our brain to ease into this new action, or we will sabotage. And that sabotage looks like all kinds of things. It's very sneaky. Maybe it's someone else needed something. It looks like it's going to rain. Whatever it might be. Many times by week 6 of my 12-week program, clients are already doing their actions consistently, and they don't even really realize it because it's been in this easier process. It's been easy, and they look back and go, oh my gosh, yeah, I guess I am doing blank. I have been working out 3 times a week now for 6 weeks, and it really, I didn't realize that. Like it seems easy rather than week 1, boom, here I go. Coach me into how I can force myself to do this 3 or 4 times a week. But as we move into these things slowly, that's why my first program that people take is the 12-week, the 90-day program. And let me help your critter brain here. I don't mean 12 weeks of what you might be thinking is like pushing yourself and, just forcing. That doesn't sound fun for 12 weeks, and it's not going to work. But we're doing it slowly in the way that keeps our brain happy. Taking the right kind of action, telling ourselves the right kind of thoughts. That's another series coming up in the podcast. And getting the right kind of accountability and support. So it's not all just about action, but this series we are breaking down the action. Okay, overall our goal here is healthier and more balanced, not one extreme or the next. And that includes with our actions, one small step at a time. So take a deep breath and start small to end big. I hope this was helpful. For the next 7 days, what is the smallest step that you can take towards your own goal? Connect with me and let me know. And remember, keep it simple, keep it real.